What's going on? It's Suk and I'm back with a brand new video on SuperDuprTech. In today's video, I'll be bringing you my full and in-depth review of the brand new 2023 14-inch M2 Pro MacBook Pro. Also, we are on the road to 5,000 subscribers, so if you are new around here, then I must ask you to hit the subscribe button, clicking the bell icon to be notified of when any of my new videos go live. But without any further ado, let's hit the titles. So first up, let's get into talking about the design of this MacBook Pro. It indeed has the same external design as the MacBook Pro models which were released in 2021. Which is great, as this design is one of my favourites, and whilst it's slightly on the thicker side compared to the previous Touch Bar models, it certainly makes up for this with the specs under the hood. There is next to no flex to the chassis, and if the 2021 models were anything to go by, then they'll continue to stay structurally sound for many years to come. The only branding on this machine is the Apple logo on the lid and the embossed MacBook Pro text on the bottom of the casing. And like those previous models, it's only available in either space grey or silver. On the left side of the device, you will find the MagSafe 3 dual Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports along with a single high impedance headphone port. On the right side, there is a HDMI 2.1 port along with another USB-C and an SDXC card slot. These ports will be more than enough for most people, especially given the versatility of USB-C and the number of hubs and adapters that are currently out on the market. Using the MagSafe charger with the included 67-watt power adapter, you will be able to fast charge this machine to 50% in 30 minutes, which will give you roughly 6 hours of normal use, or if you're a power user, 50% will get you around 3 hours of use, which I don't think is too bad if you have the brightness up a decent amount and you're using applications like Lightroom, Photoshop and Final Cut Pro. I've averaged around 5 hours of use with the brightness on maximum, but with auto brightness on, it's typically around 6 to 7 hours of use. Lifting the lid reveals the beautiful mini LED, high refresh rate, high resolution, high brightness display, which makes creating and consuming content a joyful experience. It measures 14.2 inches diagonally with thin bezels. It has a resolution of 3024 by 1964, which gives it a pixel density of 254 pixels per inch. And when displaying HDR content, the brightness on this display can peak to 1600 nits. And while playing this content, it can sustain 1000 nits of brightness, although when you're using this in day-to-day tasks, it'll be around 500 nits. It's able to display 1 billion colours from within the P3 colour spectrum, and also supports Apple's True Tone technology, which has been in MacBooks for a very long time. As this display supports mini LED technology, the blacks that you see are fairly black. They're not quite as black as an OLED panel, but they certainly are better than the previous generation. While the notch makes its return, I almost never realised it with the previous model, and it's no different here. And talking about the notch, it houses a Full HD FaceTime HD camera, which due to how the M2 Pro is processing the footage, it looks better than the previous M1 Pro models from 2021. Here is footage from the 2021 MacBook Pro and the 2023 model. Take a look at the brightness, exposure and sharpness along with noise reduction, and also take note of the audio clarity from the microphones. The footage that you're looking at this current moment is being recorded on an M1 Pro enabled 14-inch MacBook Pro. So you should get a good idea as to how I sound, along with how, of course, the camera on this MacBook Pro is performing. Now, as I saw in that previous photograph from Photo Booth, the newer 2023 model clearly has some differences, and I can notice it at least within my beard. So let's keep a little look around my beard to see how the hairs are at the current moment, and then when I switch over to the 2023, M2 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro. Let me know how it looks. This is being recorded off of the 2023 M2 Pro enabled 14-inch MacBook Pro. So how does this look in comparison to what we've seen with the M1 Pro enabled MacBook Pro? Yeah, I mean, just taking a little look at it, yeah, I can definitely tell the difference in my beard, that's for sure. Hopefully that's being picked up in the video, but I could certainly see a difference here. And yeah, I mean, if this was a video call, I'd much prefer the quality that I'm seeing from this MacBook Pro. So it's interesting that the image signaling process that's in the M2 Pro is performing a lot better than what I initially had imagined. Solid. It really is quite solid. I think the most important takeaway from those clips is the difference in the audio quality coming from the microphones on these machines. For some reason, the previous generation's microphones sounded much better, whilst the camera on the newer model looked noticeably better. As I mentioned earlier, the port situation on this MacBook Pro is much better than what we've seen pre-2021. And whilst it looks like there's been no improvements when it comes to the ports over the previous 2021 model, the HDMI port has been improved up from HDMI 2.0 to HDMI 2.1, which means you can use that HDMI port to display 8K video, which will come in use with the M2 Max MacBook Pro models. MacBooks are known for having some incredible speakers, and it's no different here. So let's take a listen at the audio coming from this model compared to the previous model. The keyboard, like the previous model, is brilliant. I've had no issues with it, it's been reliable, it's got a decent amount of travel at 0.9mm, it has full-size function keys, it's got Touch ID, which compared to other fingerprints on other machines, it's very fast, reliable, and never seems to make an error. This keyboard is backlit, meaning you're able to work in the dark. And in general, I still love the aesthetic of the black keyboard wow to the silver or space grey body. Below the keyboard you will find the Force Touch trackpad, which is the standard. And whilst Apple has not made any changes to this keyboard over the years, it really seems like they don't need to make any improvements. Although I would add that I certainly would love to see Apple Pencil support on MacBooks, so that professional illustrators that are travelling with a Mac will no longer need to travel with a Wacom tablet. They'll just need to use the Apple Pencil and use it directly onto the trackpad. It's worth noting that with this M2 Pro powered 14-inch MacBook Pro that you are able to drive two external 6K displays at up to 60Hz. And as I touched on earlier, that HDMI port will support up to an 8K resolution at 60Hz or one 4K display running at 240Hz. Also, with these new 2023 models, we have Wi-Fi 6E along with Bluetooth 5.3, which will increase the range and bandwidth limitations of Bluetooth. And so you might have realized that I have left the M2 chip itself to the very end, and it's not by mistake. I'm fairly certain you're already aware of how well the M2 chip or Apple Silicon chips in general have been performing in their Macs. With this M2 Pro, it's a solid improvement over the M1 Pro, and compared to the pre-Apple Silicon Intel Macs, there's no competition. In general day-to-day tasks, they are noticeably quicker than those pre-Apple Silicon machines. And if you're coming from another Apple Silicon machine, then you'll certainly notice the difference when it comes to exporting video and rendering animations using Blender. I've already uploaded a video testing this machine, so if you'd like to see that video, then be sure to click the card in the top right corner. It's sad to see that Apple are making cost-cutting measures with the SSD, with them not performing as good as those previous M1 Pro enabled machines. But for 95 to 99% of tasks, you'll find that this machine is more than capable and will exceed expectations on almost all parameters. If you are one of the few people that likes to play a handful of games on their Macs, then you'll be pleased to find out that this MacBook surprisingly is able to play a number of games fairly well. And whilst it's certainly not a gaming laptop, with this high refresh rate ProMotion display, it certainly makes its argument for a good gaming experience. And macOS, well, macOS has been good across the board. Now, whilst I've been using it predominantly on my other machines, standout features like universal control work incredibly well. I love being able to use the keyboard and trackpad from one device on another. The improvements that have been made to Spotlight Search have been good, as I have over 70 terabytes worth of files, which is only ever increasing, and the ability to be able to search one time and have it scan through all of my drives is great, but the addition of being able to preview these files from within Spotlight helps tremendously. I love being able to group tabs into a focus mode, as when I'm in the office I have my work tabs open up, and when I get home my personal ones instantly open up. Stage Manager has been a little hit and miss for me. Sometimes when I try to use it on this Mac, it feels quite buggy, and overall I find that on a Mac it's not quite as useful as say on an iPad, as I still like being able to view my desktop when working in a program in the case that I need to access a file from the desktop in a pinch. FaceTime handoff is such a simple idea which has been executed very well. I love being able to start a call on my iPhone and then switch across to my MacBook Pro. It's a feature that saves time and peace of mind. As I say, I've not run into many issues whilst using this Mac from a software perspective, other than the bugs with Stage Manager and when using the Home app to control a handful of lights. If you've watched any of my previous reviews, then you already know where I'm going. It's a Mac, which means a few things: great build, robust software, best in class performance, battery life which is the talk of the town, although it is locked once again into Apple's weird image. So upgradability is basically non-existent. And with this model, I feel that Apple are making some subtle refinements, such as the battery life increasing, having a better performing webcam, although the microphones aren't as good, having a more capable HDMI port. Just in general, I believe Apple are now starting to refine what they believe a MacBook should be, without the limitations of those Intel processors which determine the size and overall form factor and capabilities of their previous machines. If I were to give this laptop a grade, I would honestly give it a solid 8.7. So there you have it. That has been it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you are new around here, then be sure to subscribe, clicking the bell icon to be notified when a new video goes live. If you've got any questions, or if there is anything that you would like to see further tested on this machine or other machines, then be sure to leave them down below in the comment section, or alternatively you can hit me up on my social media, links to which can be found down below in this video's description. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care and have a good one.